PNP does not follow Manley's footstep of 1989, but they are following the footstep of Manley in 1972. Yes, I have the proof.
People in the world who say now, why are we taking this risk to anger the United States of America? And the answer is this: we are not angering the United States of America. They are angering themselves. They are not going to tell me what relationship I have with Fidel Castro. We have that friendship with Cuba as part of a world alliance of third world nations that are fighting for justice for poor people in the world. And I tell you as the party leader, as long as this party is in power, we intend to walk through the world on our feet and not on our knees.
Very importantly, if a country is to move from a settled political framework to achieve development, meaning economic growth, the ability to improve education, improve housing, improve health, the second thing it has to settle is an economic strategy. It has to try to make up its mind how we're going to get the economic side of things to work. And we have, I think, a singular advantage at this time in that, having settled our politics in the sense of systems, we have reached, I think, a remarkable degree of consensus about economic development. We have been through various experiments in state intervention in economic activity. We have always believed in a powerful private sector, but we've had periods when we thought we could work the mix, get an advantage out of a mixture. Experience taught us that the government's just not very good at production. And experience taught me that if you try to achieve shortcuts by putting government into aspects of production for whatever reason, that what you do is set up tremendous contradictions inside the society. It creates fear and confusion in the minds of a private sector who you want to grow, but who, in a sense, don't want to grow if they feel there is a potential threat. I speak with total frankness. And certainly as part of my own rethink of economic strategy, I came to the conclusion, along with all the members of my political party, that what we want is, one, for our private sector to have the job of economic development. Secondly, that the government should never be in an adversarial position with the private sector, but to work very closely with them to create the conditions that most favor economic growth. That the business of the government, and believe me, it is as much as we can do successfully, to work on infrastructure, human resource development, training, trying to find the means to support low-cost housing, developing effective health services, and to provide a framework of broad social justice. Now, we've settled that in Jamaica. There's a broad two-party consensus about it, and I think there's a national consensus. And in coming to Washington in response to the President's kind invitation, I asked major leaders of our private sector and our trade union movement to come with us because it is a common agenda. And they have been of enormous assistance in this meeting, talking to financial institutions, business people, while we, on the government side, have done the official round. And also, it is a way of us saying to the world that this is a united country interested now in development. I think that Jamaica is on the verge of a remarkable economic takeoff. The will is there, the know-how is there, the private sector wants to move, tourism is moving, bauxite alumina is beginning to move upwards again, non-traditional export development is beginning to improve, and we even achieved 5% growth in our GDP last year. But we face tremendous obstacles, one in particular, and the obstacle is the problem of foreign exchange. In all the years of the past, Jamaica ended up, as indeed many countries in the world have, very, very heavily in debt. Our debt is 4.5 billion, which is the equivalent of nearly 2 years' gross domestic product. The servicing of that debt takes more than 40% of our foreign exchange earnings, and the financing of the servicing of the debt takes more than 40% of the national budget. So that we face two huge problems. From the government's point of view, such enormous sums of the budget are used to finance the servicing of the past, the servicing of the debt, that our capacity to maintain a dynamic, forward-moving educational system that keeps in step with modern technology, that can begin to give us our own indigenous research capacity, is severely hampered. Our ability for economic growth, ironically, is severely hampered. Many people don't understand that you cannot expand a business in a country like Jamaica if you don't have foreign exchange. You can't make the basic machinery. You have to import it. So if you want to expand a plant, you have to have the foreign exchange to pay for the foreign machinery, and so on and so forth. And very often now we're trapped in a situation, and we face that in a very serious way in the immediate 2 to 3 years, is that when a private sector firm is excited with a plan of expansion or to get into a new line, it has to come to the central bank for the foreign exchange for part of what it wants to do, and then they have to join a queue before they can get the foreign exchange, so that we are denied the growth, they become frustrated, we lose the employment opportunities, and the whole thing becomes trapped in a frustration. Now, I'd like first of all to say, why should an American citizen have any interest in that? Why should it not be shrugged off as your problem, somebody else's problem? And then I'd like to discuss afterwards things that we think can do to help, and why we are here, really. I think that more and more we really occupy a single global economy. Very many Americans, I think, and very many people in the more developed parts of the world don't recognize that when a large part of mankind is trapped in this debt problem, when we in Jamaica want to expand something in agriculture, but need more tractors to expand it, those tractors can logically come from you. If we can't bring them in, then you don't export them. And I often think it is ironic that the United States, with all its economic power, should have a balance of trade problem, and you have an acute balance of trade problem, and it impacts on your society. And you're suffering that when there's a whole globe that is dying to import your goods, dying to bring in the tractors from Detroit or wherever, dying to bring in the equipment, but is trapped in the common problem of foreign exchange and is unable to do it. So that there is a first absolutely direct connection that affects jobs, your own trade situation, and our difficulty. They are interconnected. It is a global economy. That is the reality.